Good morning, everybody. Pastor Stitch, Narrow Path Christian Church, BC, Bay City, Michigan. Also the North Central Chaplain for Broken Chains, JC. Welcome to the Biker Devotional. Today is August 17th, 2025, and we are looking at, yes, you guessed it, Proverbs 17. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Rhonda. Good morning to all the rest of you that are watching this morning. So grateful to have the opportunity to share with you. So this morning we're looking at Proverbs chapter 17, and we're going to look at verse 4. Now, in the Holman Christian Standard translation, it reads this way: a wicked person listens to malicious talk. A liar pays attention to destructive tongue. In the King James, it reads this way: a wicked doer giveth heed to the false lips, and a liar giveth ear to naughty tongue. Pretty much the same thing, just one is much older language than the other, but it translates out pretty much the same way, doesn't it? But what does it mean? Well, as I was looking at that this morning and thinking about some other things in my life, this verse really stood out to me. And I was dealing with some thoughts in my head about some things that had been talked to me about, and dwelling on it and realizing that I was holding some animosity towards it. And then I read this verse and I wondered to myself, what is this that I am reading? And I dug a little deeper and I realized that this wicked person that Solomon is talking about is someone who is either a good for nothing, or someone who absolutely desires to be seen as good. The problem with that is that can be most of us, on one side of the equation or the other, especially for those of us who find our identity in what other people think of us. Well, I only got one thumbs up today, I must not be very good, can be a thought that comes into my head. And it's crazy because actually one of my devotionals that I read this morning actually talked to me about this specific problem about myself. And reminded me that it wasn't about that, it was about being faithful. And then I read this verse and realized that I am that good for nothing or that wicked person. And that the fact is, we don't, when we live that way, we end up hearing and listening for the juicy bits. The verse says, a wicked person listens to malicious talk. That is, they listen to people who are, the word malicious talk means chasing, someone who's chasing after the juicy bits. Chasing after the juicy bits. We listen to the people that are gossiping, that they're sharing the morsels that could be titillating and stirring us up. Solomon goes further and he says, we end up then becoming that person, and we become a liar as well. We become a liar as well because we're paying attention to the things that are destructive, the thoughts and the statements that are destructive all around us, instead of paying attention to the things that are most important. You know, it's really easy to skip this in the morning. Skip spending time in the Bible. Skip spending time in prayer. It's really easy to check the box and say I did it, and really I skipped it. This morning I was sitting here and I started reading my Proverbs, and I had read more than halfway through chapter 17 and realized I didn't remember a single word I had read, including verse 4. And I apologized to God in that moment. I walked away from my Bible. I walked outside, took my cup of coffee, and I started having a conversation with the Lord. And I asked him to forgive me because I was checking a box. And I'm grateful because in that moment of talking to the Lord, I realized that I have a neighbor who is younger in his generation. And I've seen him pacing the neighborhood over the last week or so. And I realized that he was hurting. He was lonely. And he was trying to get control of his life. Now, I believe this is a revelation from God about his life. I don't have details. I said, Lord, let this be his Jericho march. And let those walls fall down, because he's avoiding the things that are destructive in his life. He's not looking at his phone as he's walking. He's just walking. And he's trying to be present with himself. Let this be his Jericho march, and let it cause the walls to come crashing down so that he can have victory in his life. What's that got to do with the verse that we just read? That young man was drawing in. Even though he may not know who God is, he was drawing in to the one source that could provide that victory. He wasn't paying attention to the malicious talk, the juicy tidbits that the devil was trying to feed him. Even though they may have been beating him up, he was trying to find anything else to look at. Had I not walked outside in that moment and seen that, I would have not been able to come back inside, open up my Bible again, and start reading, and get to verse 4 and have God speak to me. The juicy tidbits can be overwhelming. The lies of the world can be overwhelming, and they are everywhere. The juicy tidbits can cause us to chase after things like nobody's business. But you got to remember, you have a choice. You have a choice. I have to remember I have a choice. Today, I choose to put my focus on the Lord. And even when I miss it in a moment, I can come back to it a moment later. And so can you. I'm praying for all of you today. Take this time to take your Jericho moment. Even if it's a march around your own brain. Watch those walls fall down. Draw back into his word. God's word. Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth. Hear him, because he's speaking to you today. By the way, it's Sunday. Get to church. I love y'all. Hope you have a great day. God bless.